Hey, welcome everyone. In this episode, I have a guest with me, and he's my friend. I can call him as brother. I've I think it's been a year now. I've been friends with him. I saw him at the Harvard Business School. We did a program together. It's my pleasure to welcome. I will let him introduce himself in a moment, but the topic for today is unpacking rising through the ranks in the same organization. So, in this conversation, we are going to explore the rare experience but inspiring journey from Adam, who rise through the ranks in the same organization. We will uncover those pivotal moments, tough calls, cultural shifts, and personal growth, importantly. So, without a further ado, Adam, why don't you introduce yourself and we can try to jump into the topic?
Sounds great, Anand. Thanks for having me. So my name is Adam Peters. I am a husband, a father, and the CEO of Liquide North America, based here in Houston. And as you said, Anand, I consider you a brother as well. It was a great opportunity to spend together at Harvard last summer, or 2 summers ago. And anyway, it's
Yes.
nice to be with you today.
Yeah, sounds good, Adam. So, I know your journey has been inspired me and it inspired a lot of people when I was with you at the Harvard Business School. You're so humble. That's why I reached out to you to say, like, hey, Adam, I'm starting this show. I want you to be part of the show. And thanks for being the guest as part of the show. So I want to jump into my first question to you. I think you have experienced every rung of the corporate ladder firsthand, right, in the same organization. I'm just
Yep.
curious, how has this shaped your leadership style compared to leaders who join at the top?
I think it's so thanks for the question. It's been interesting. I started at Air Liquide 29 years ago, right out of university. So I started, and I would say I was an individual contributor for the first 4 years of my career, but
Mm-hmm.
had my first management opportunity when I was 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about what I do today as a CEO, I kind of look at my role as two things: as a manager, much like the manager that I was when I was 27 years old, learning obviously along the way,
Mm-hmm.
but carrying forward a lot of the same things that I did at that time, and then as a senior leader in an organization. So, when you think about the shaping of me as a leader, I really do view my role as those two things. As a manager, like today, I have 11 direct reports. So a manager of those 11, which is around 50% of my time, and then the
Sure.
balance of it really being the senior leader of a company.
Sure. Sure. I'm sure, I went through the same journey, Adam, but not in the same organization. I switched companies. This is my third job in my career. But
Uh-huh.
climbing within one company often means people will always remember how you behaved in your earlier days, right?
Yeah.
People always think about that. I'm just curious to know, how did you navigate that perception as you took on higher roles in the same organization?
I remember a really interesting story. So I had been in our electronics business for maybe about 9 years, and I had the opportunity to make my first big jump in the organization. So at the time, I was going from being a manager to a director.
Hmm.
And I remember having a conversation with my boss at the time, and he said, Adam, this is a perfect opportunity for you to think about the leader that you want to be and who you have been before, and basically what are those things that you want to change about who
Sure.
you were as you go forward. And I thought a lot about that for a couple days, and then I had a conversation with another guy who was the head of HR, and I
Hmm.
told him a conversation I had with my former boss. And I said, so I'm trying to think through, what is it that I want to be? And he goes, you know what? Just be yourself.
Yep.
Just be yourself. And I was like, that I can do. That I can do. I can be myself. And I think, to me, one of the things that I have always been passionate about is people. And the people I've had the chance to work with have been really outstanding
Yeah.
throughout my whole career. So I really have favored and valued genuine relationships with people. And I think when you do that, you don't put airs on about yourself. You don't try to be somebody that you're not. You don't try to, uh, you know, you try to stay true to who you are. And I
Yeah.
think if you do that, then as rise in an organization, you work with different people. And I find that the people I've worked with have seen me as genuine, and I've certainly seen them in the same light. And it's
Yeah.
pretty smooth transitions, to be honest.
Correct. Correct. And I think I had this opportunity to personally interact with you during that business program that we did together. But I think every promotion likely came with a shift in responsibilities and expectations. I'm curious, like you mentioned about you started as an individual contributor and you moved into a management. And then even within management, you might have moved from a manager to a
Yeah.
director, or I don't know the hierarchy of the company. But which transition was the hardest? If you could share what was the hardest part and hardest part of it, and how did you adapt?
I think the hardest role for me was so after I had been in Houston for a number of years, I had the biggest business I had had the chance to run up until that point was about 100 people and $100 million in sales, full P&L responsibility. And I
Yeah,
had the opportunity to move to Canada, run an organization of 2,500 people and about 900 million in sales. And it
right.
was very much removed from my boss, and it was a huge stretch. And I think that
Mm,
was probably the hardest transition for me because what I realized was, first of all, I was pretty naive in going to a role like that. I had not
mhm.
fully, I would say, had the experiences that made that proved that out, and that job was exactly that. So
Sure.
one thing that helped with that is that when you think about managing, you manage up, you manage to the side, and you manage down. And my boss had a lot of confidence in me, and so I didn't feel like I had to manage up as much. So I really spent my time managing down and managing across with my peers, which was a fantastic experience for me because it really allowed me to put the energy where I thought the difference could be made the most.
Right, Adam. So I can only imagine, Adam, how much influence you might have built within the organization, right? And it is hard, right, as you
Yeah.
move from one role to another role. But I'm curious to know, how do you keep your ideas fresh, right? Have you heard the phrase, this is how we have done this,
Yep.
right? Why we need to change it, right? I'm curious to know how do you keep your ideas fresh, right? Avoid all this institutional blind spots that you
Yeah.
go through.
So I I love conversations, listening to people, trying to genuinely hear them out before making a decision on something. Uh, doing kind of like step down visits with employees. I find I
Yeah.
always get a different perspective as opposed to always talking to my direct reports.
Hmm.
Um, and I think always being open to what those ideas are. So on one hand, it's being open. On the other hand, it's understanding through industry wide events or councils or boards that I'm on, understanding what other companies are doing or what other peers are doing in other organizations. And I think that sometimes connecting the two. So understanding what is available or what thoughts are out there, and then
Yeah.
also hearing what the problems are and trying to really identify what those problems before trying to apply a package solution to them, I think helps a lot.
Yeah. And I think staying in one company for decades requires a lot of constant reinvention. I know
Yeah.
you do reflection, and I'm a big fan of reflection, right? Reflecting on a
Mhm.
daily basis. But what are the strategies that you probably used so that you remain relevant and valued as you grow up in your career?
Yeah, so it's a good point. I mean, I think let's see. So on reflecting, one of the things I do is I find that I recharge my batteries when I walk,
Hmm.
and I don't listen to. I'm going to listen to this podcast, but I don't listen to podcasts in general when I'm doing that, right? So, but typically, I don't have my,
Thank you
I
for
don't,
saying that.
you know, I don't have my AirPods in when I'm walking. I have quiet time to walk and to think. So I think that that's one way for me to do that is to allow myself that time, that freedom to think through things.
Yeah.
I think certainly reading materials, reading things that see how other people do things is another way to come, with fresh ideas and the like. Bringing new people in, right? So when I have a team, I have my management teams over time have a bit of churn in them, which I think is healthy. So I have a
Yeah.
diverse management team. People have different backgrounds, different ideas. I encourage them to challenge me. I challenge them back. And I find that we have healthy debate that is a good level of friction, I think, in the organization to try to drive out the best ideas and move forward in the best way.
Yeah. So, Adam, I'm going to put you on spot. You can just say no to this question. So, as you progressed over the period of time, your peers might have become your team members or sometimes your direct reports. How did you manage those dynamics?
So I'll tell you, I have an interesting one today.
Okay.
When I was an individual contributor, I was an account manager, and I worked for a sales manager who worked for a vice president. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's reversed. So
Okay.
today, the person that was my boss's boss now works for the person that was my boss who works for me. So that's one
Okay.
example. See this kind of reversal over time. They happen to be two of my closest friends in the company. So there's a genuine respect, a
Mm-hmm.
genuine appreciation for the backgrounds of each of these individuals. And I think that they have of me too.
Yeah.
Where I feel like when I was working for them, I would have run through a brick wall for them. And I
Sure.
feel like this holds true today. So to me, I think to me, it always starts with that. How do you be genuine in your relationships, not try to look at people as opportunities to manipulate, to leverage, whatever, but to work with them towards common goals and common objectives. And I think if you do that, it's really pretty simple.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's really
Right.
pretty simple.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, Adam. Like within the last 1 year, I think we had only few interactions, but every time I ping you or call you, you won't hesitate. You will just ping me back or call me back, right? You never
Yeah.
said like, and I'm busy, and then forget about it, right? So which is a great quality. Um,
Thanks.
I want to probably pick on what was your turning point moment, right? Every leader has defining moments that shape their career trajectory, right?
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know what was your one turning point that significantly accelerated your path to CEO?
I think that there was, I think there's two that jumped to me, okay, that I'll bring out. Uh, the first one was a role that I had, which was so after I had run the first business that I did, this was kind of in the
Hmm.
2006 2009 timeframe. I had an opportunity to be responsible for what we called operations control and strategic planning for the Americas.
Sure.
So that gave me the opportunity to see what resonated well with
Hmm.
other leaders to the CEO at the time that's in the role that I'm in. Okay.
Sure.
So I saw what was successful and I saw what was not successful from those people. So it was a good training ground.
Hmm.
Then when I went to Canada, I had a tremendous growth experience in Canada. So the way I like to describe it is I was in my 15th year with the company when I went to Canada, and I was in my
Sure.
21st year in the company when I left. So I grew this much during my first 15 years at Air Liquide. I grew this much during the first 4 years I was in Canada, and this much during the last 2 years. So why was that? I think there was a tremendous acceleration of growth for me
Hmm.
personally,
Hmm.
professionally.
Hmm.
I think one of it was the time that I was living in and the economic downturn that we were going through. So we went
Sure.
through, the Canadian economy is a very natural resource based economy. We saw a huge growth for 2 years, and then we saw a massive decline. And, with the price of oil dropping in the 2014 timeframe and the like, at the same time, we were going through a major ERP transformation that was not a success. It was
Hmm.
a very, very difficult transformation where we lost total visibility and had to take decisions that basically without the visibility that we wanted. So we went through a 12% reduction in staff at the time, which was a very difficult thing to do. But aligning with my leadership team in that was a pretty powerful moment.
Sure.
And I think
Sure.
we came and basically returned to growth. So that growing experience up there, I think, prepared me very, very well for what I'm doing today.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Adam. I think the higher you go, I think there's definitely a loneliness, and more importantly, there are fewer role models you have inside the company, or you seek guidance and advice, right? I'm curious to know, where did you seek your guidance and mentorship?
So I do have, I would say over 29 years, I've had four people that
Hmm.
have been outstanding mentors to me, and they are
Sure.
today. So I consider them
Sure.
genuine friends and mentors. all had started within the company, but not all stayed with the company. So some of
Hmm.
them went on to other things, and some of them stayed with the company. But I see these people as great mentors that I can call on today at a moment's notice, and get that reassurance or guidance that is so important.
Sure.
You're right. It is lonely on the top, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
when I was in Canada, I found myself going to lunch by myself a lot and thinking, man, this is for a while there, it took a little while to get used to that, and then I did get used to it and found, this time of reflection, which was really great.
Yeah, yeah. And more importantly, I'm curious to know balancing loyalty to the company that you're working from your start of your career and compared to the personal ambition that you might had over the period of years, right? How did you ensure both were aligned over the years as you navigate from one role to another role, from an individual contributor to management, or from a manager to a director role? How did you balance that?
So, I didn't have the ambition to be a CEO, early in my
Sure,
career, right? So I
sure.
think my ambitions changed over time. I always felt like Air Liquide challenged me and gave me opportunities to stretch myself for me to grow, and then I feel like my ambition grew as I grew. So that was good. I didn't have my eyes set on something extremely high early on. And I remember at one point saying to myself, if I ever reach the level of vice president by the time I retire, then I will have my own expectations. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to have that when I was about 35 years old. And
Sure.
so everything after that I saw as gravy. And
Mm,
and then the other thing is I've always tried to not think of the next role, but always
sure.
pour myself directly into the role that I'm in and then let things, take their, you know, hopefully people will notice uh, and it's worked out well. I really feel blessed and on.
Yeah, that I'm sure, right? For sure. Probably, what would you tell yourself or someone who's at the entry level who's watching this one about a tip or probably like what is that they should be thinking about navigating a career in one organization or even in multiple organizations from a start to becoming an executive leader?
I think it's, number one is don't feel this time rush. Look at your career as something that is not a straight line. It is going to be a journey that
Yep.
might have ups and downs in that journey, right? And those down periods are growing periods as well. Those valleys that people go through, that I've gone
Yep.
through, are times where you grow a lot, individually, professionally, and like. So look at it as a long journey.
Yep.
Pour yourself into the role that you're in at the moment. Make your, I always have. My dad told me one time. He said, always have a relationship with your boss and your boss's boss. So don't just think of, the one person above you, but think more broadly than that.
Hmm.
Develop meaningful relationships with those people as well.
Yeah.
Expand network early in your career and make it natural. People can see when things are not natural,
Yeah. Of course.
and it's not, like to me, it doesn't look genuine. And therefore I tend to not favor those people as much.
Right.
But I think those are some of the things I that I have found worked well along my journey.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the it's inspiring, Adam, right? For example, for sure, relationship, partnership, networking. I was jokingly, we were talking about this, and I told you that I'm an introvert, and you were like, You're not introvert. I'm an introvert for sure." But the networking and relationship matters for sure, right? And it's inspiring, when I see you. You're one of the few, right? I've seen some LinkedIn posts where I've seen people started as an intern and then
yeah.
transition into multiple roles and to become a CEO. I think you are one of the few. I'm glad to have you as part of the show, and I'm glad to have you as my friend and brother. And thanks for taking the time to be part of the show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate and value your time, Adam. Thank you so much.
Hey, Anand, you're a good friend. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.